Hey everyone, Walter Crosby with Helix Sales Development, your host for Sales and Cigars. Thanks for joining us today. We have an interesting guest. He's in a similar space. Nicky Billou's got a great energy about him. He's got a great idea about just what he's doing. Like, he talks about serving his clients and serving his community, and it's authentic. He really, truly wants to help people. He's got a great story. He's not a cigar guy, but he appreciates that whole masculine energy, guys getting together to have some camaraderie around an idea, a concept, cigars, cocktails, whatever it is. He appreciates that. He's just not he's in good shape, and he wants to stay in good shape. So, go grab a cocktail, grab a cigar, strap in for another fun episode of Sales and Cigars. Thanks. Hey, Nicky, welcome to Sales and Cigars. I appreciate you taking a few minutes to jump on the podcast with us. So welcome.
Walter, man, thanks for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here. God bless you, brother.
Appreciate it. We talked a little bit in what I call the green room. Just in like 3 minutes, I think we kind of kindred spirits, and we're headed in a direction here that I think is going to be a fun conversation. But what I'd really like to do is start when I speak to somebody who's got an entrepreneurial business and helps entrepreneurs. I always like to get a sense as to what their journey was like to get here to where they are, to their success. So we don't need to go to kindergarten, right? We don't need to go back that far, but can you pick up some place where you think would be interesting and let everybody know where your story started?
Absolutely. Walter, I'm actually originally an immigrant from the Middle East. I'm a Christian from Iran. When I was 11 years old, the Islamic Revolution took place, and my late father, God rest his soul, he's somebody who could see the writing on the wall. This was not going to be a great place to raise his Christian family. So what he decided to do was he made a plan, and he got us out of Iran. And eventually we settled where I now live in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Now at the time I was 11 years old. It took us a couple years to get out of Iran, but I left behind all my friends. It was terrible for me. I was so upset. I was, inconsolable. But looking back, my dad
A tough age.
did an incredible thing for our family. He took us out of tyranny and he brought us to freedom. And, my father was a man of foresight and prescience. My father was a man who believed in uplifting his fellow man. If you knew my dad and you were looking for work, he'd find you a job. If you were looking to start a business, he'd help you start a business. If you were looking to buy a car or a house or an apartment and you didn't quite have enough, he would top you up so you could buy that car, that house, that apartment. And a lot of people just go to me and go, Nicky, what are you talking about? Who does that? Well, the late, great Napoleon Billou, for one. But why would he do that? Well, he would do it because, first of all, he was a Christian, devout, and he believed he'd been blessed by God, and it was his duty to share those blessings. It was very, very important to him and how he chose to live his life day to day. But second, Dad was a man who could help people because he was successful. He had the financial wherewithal as an entrepreneur to do that. Me, I wanted to be like Dad. I was one of these fellas who wanted to be like his father, square man, right? And eventually I became an entrepreneur and I got into the helping professions in entrepreneurship. There was a point in time where I was one of the top fitness trainers in all of North America. I worked with Olympic gold medalists. I worked with top CEOs. I worked with multi-billionaires, multi-millionaires. I worked with top people in real estate, mortgages, et cetera, gurus, you name it. And here's what I saw. Eventually I got into the business advisory service aspect of entrepreneurship. And I saw that there's a lot of good men and women in entrepreneurship, right? They were really good at what they did, but they were not good at business. Marketing and sales scared them. Hiring and firing mystified them. Culture was like, what the heck is that? Balance sheets, income statements, cash flow statements. I don't even, what am I looking at here? Right? And never mind
Right.
exit plans and exit strategy. They just didn't get it. So me,
Yep.
I'm a learned man. I have a master's degree from Georgetown University. I graduated magna cum laude. I graduated from the University of Toronto, in business, international business, in diplomacy, politics. I'm a man of the world. I've lived on several continents, several different countries. And I understand business. I can help these people. It's not that complicated for me, and I'll give them my confidence. And here's the truth. I've been able to help a lot of folks do that. Are you familiar with Michael Gerber and his work, The E-Myth Revisited?
Oh, the
Yeah.
the
So
E-Myth.
we
Yeah,
use
Michael
similar
Gerber's great.
principles to help folks, you know, get unstuck and grow their business and scale and all that good stuff. My greatest success story in a single year, I helped a restaurant chain owner add 11.5 million to his income. Now that's a tremendous, tremendous
Wow.
success, and it's really, really great. Um, but here's what else I found is that there's a lot of people like you and I that are in the coaching and helping and consulting professions. These are like individuals, solopreneurs, lone wolves in some cases, and they're really good at what they did, really good. But marketing and sales mystified and frightened them, especially sales. Now you can relate because you and I, we both come from a sales background, but there's a lot of folks in sales who like, I don't want to be pushy. No, no, no. I don't want to be salesy. No, no, no. I will commission breath. No, no, not me, man. That's not coming off of me. Forget about it. Right.
Yep.
But the
I hear
problem
you.
is they don't go after business they should go after legitimately. They like bite off their nose to spite their face. It's ridiculous. Right. So they don't get business. They suffer financially. But the person they could have helped suffers because they don't get the help of an honest person. And then some charlatan
Right.
marketer, some dude, sociopathic personality comes in and swoops and grabs that business, doesn't deliver. The sum total of goodness in the world goes down. So I'm like, I'm going to help these consultant types. Let's help them figure out how to sell without coming across like pushy. Now that word sales stuck in their craw. So I'm like, okay, let's rebrand it from
Mm.
selling to serving. You don't want to be sold, but you want to be served. We all want to be served, right? And so that really helped a lot of coaches and consultants. They could wrap their head around being of service, and that allowed them to double, triple, quadruple their business. My father used to say, hey, Nicky, life is not about business or money or numbers. Even business is not about business or money or numbers. It's all about people. You got to make a difference for people. You got to solve problems for people for profit. PPP. Problems, people, profit, the winning zone, right where they all intersect. Boom, boom. And so that's what it became about for me to help these folks. And then on the marketing side, they suck because you ask them what they do. Well, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, I'm a whatever. Nobody cares. People don't buy their way into something like you and your program and your methodology. They don't give a crap. They buy their way out of their something. They buy their way out of hell. Now, there's three big hells in life that people are willing to pay big money to solve and get out of. Hell number one is the hell of wealth that is limited, non-existent, finances, sales, etc. People will pay money to solve the hell of a lack of wealth or diminished wealth. The number two is the hell of health, the lack of health. They're overweight, they got diabetes, they got cancer, they got mental health issues. They'll pay big money to solve those. And number three is the hell of relationships. They don't have a relationship. Their relationship's in the crapper. Their wife, husband hasn't had sex with them in a decade, stuff like that. These are the types of things people are willing to pay a lot of money to solve. And so what I say to coaches and consultants is, don't talk about you, and it's not about you. It's about them. You're solving problems for people for profit. Acute problems for awesome people at an amazing profit. That's your job. And if you take the
Yep.
attention off you, you put the attention on the human being you're serving, then it doesn't really become about selling. Honestly, it becomes about service. Like today, I've had conversations with three individuals, three great individuals that I got to know. And of the three individuals, there was really two of them that are needing the type of help that I provide. I booked an appointment with one. The other one had to go, but I said, here's my cell phone number. Send me a text and give me your calendar link and I'll jump on your calendar, right? A lot of people saying, oh no, you must only give them your calendar link because you need a position of superiority. I don't care, man. If I get on the phone with somebody and I'm of service to them, that's what I need to do. And if I do a good enough job, there's no need for superiority or inferiority. There's just a need for love and service and connection.
Yeah.
That's all.
Just trying to make a connection.
Yeah.
Trying to actually connect with a person and talk to them about something that's occurring in one of those three buckets. And those three, everything fits into wealth, health, and relationships. I mean, those are real. We can talk about those problems that those folks have, those issues that are there, and help them solve those. And it got nothing to do with us. You're 100%. It's like I don't have any. I can't take exception with anything you said, right? From the giddy up about serving people, about helping people, because that's really the thing. And entrepreneurs. I was in a room yesterday with 36 entrepreneurs who are trying to grow their business. And when you present an idea to them about marketing in a new concept about marketing and creating, traffic and having the right message to resonate with these folks, their eyes they get scared. There was almost terror in some of their eyes that they didn't want to have to go talk to somebody and sell their product, right? And the words I used were slightly different, but it is helping. We're trying to help people, and some people we can't help, and that's okay. We might know somebody that can. We might be able to make a connection for them, right? But it's always about that people connection, helping. Those are the bridges that get us through life, I think. Great story about your father's vision. You have, so how many, you've lived around different continents. How many languages do you speak?
I speak two fluently. I've got some French as well. And when I was young, I spoke Assyrian, but I don't really speak that any longer.
Because I think that's one of a little off topic, but I think it's one of in my country here in the States, I think it's a thing that we really do a terrible job of helping our young people learn a language when they're young, children. That's when our brain is malleable and we can take that kind of language skills and learn them when we're 4, 5, and 6, as opposed to 16, 17, and 18. It's a little more challenging, but I digress. Sorry. So let's talk a little bit. That's a great journey, and why we're an entrepreneur helping a very specific market of people that are struggling to relate to sales in a way that isn't that stereotypical way. So let's talk a little bit about the eCircle Academy and about how your approach there, because you kind of narrowed in on the people you want to help, that smaller entrepreneurial solopreneur type individual that really knows their space, that really can add value, but just can't make those connections.
Well, we have a couple of what we call clusters, right? A cluster is a go-to-market grouping of a message, a market, and a method of delivery. So definitely entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, corporate trainers, that's definitely a target market. But we also have another target market, and that is CEOs of corporations, because it is my humble belief that today, if you as a CEO wish to scale your business, you need to put yourself at the center of your company's brand. You need a thought leader authority brand for you, because people are going to come and buy from you. I'll give you a case in point. So in 1998, there were two computer companies that were up and comers. One of them was Apple, the other was Dell. They were roughly the same size, I think around 8 billion a year in revenue at the time. And they both had innovative products, visionary CEOs. But the CEO of one company put himself at the center of that company's brand. He built a narrative around him and what his story was and put that inside of the company. A lot of people in the world were very upset when Steve Jobs passed away. 1 million people filed past his grave. Have you heard of that happening for any other CEO in our lifetime? Because I sure as heck haven't, right?
I don't think anybody comes close. Maybe Bill Campbell, but
Yeah,
most people don't know who
right.
he was. So
So,
yeah, you're
so
right. It's a special guy.
Apple did that, Steve Jobs did that, and Michael Dell deliberately did not. He pulled himself out of the brand, and he really wanted Dell to speak for itself. Now, Dell today is a very successful company, over $80 billion a year in sales, right? They over tenfolded. But Apple is the most successful company in the world. Apple is a $350 billion a year company. It's the most valuable company in the world by market capitalization right now. And Dell is not in the top 100. And why is that? It's because Steve Jobs built a very powerful thought leader brand around himself and a mystique around Apple and why Apple mattered and why he, at the center of Apple, was relevant to the lives of the people that followed Apple. He's been dead since 2011. That's 12 years. And yet that brand was so powerful that it still powers up Apple's success forward today, right?
Well, one could argue that his DNA is still within that company, right? They still try to think in the future. They try to think about that interface. They try to think about their customer in the way
They
that
do.
Jobs did, right? Beautiful design, simple in its function, right? And what can we do to add value to our customers? Because their market share in the computer space is not anywhere near what Microsoft has. I mean, that type of product. It's just that he created something. He was a true visionary. Like when you look up visionary in the dictionary, Jobs should be
Absolutely.
there. Um, it's a great
Yeah.
analogy. So, but we're all not going to be Jobs,
You don't need to be
right? We're
Jobs.
all not
You
going to have
can't be
that.
Jobs, but you can be the Jobs of your industry, of your space. If you're the CEO of a $20 million company and you're going, how do I get to a quarter billion? Well, I'm going to tell you how you're going to get to a quarter billion. We're going to create a brand story around you, a thought leader brand that is central to what your company is about and how you do business and how you serve the people you serve. We're going to create messaging for you. We're going to put you out there on shows as guests. We're going to have you write a book and we're going to have you have a podcast. And that is how we're going to get your company from 20 million to 250 million. You're going to be the salesman and marketer in chief for your brand. And people are going to know who you are in a way that they don't right now. Outside of the people you do business with, nobody knows who you are and nobody cares. And that's what we're looking to change.
So, is that can that person? And I love the way you position that. Right, you're going to grow the business based on that person being the focus, because they have the passion, they have that energy there that because of they're the leading the company. But can somebody that's doing $2-3 million a year that wants to get to 10? I mean,
$100%, bro.
can you help them step that through
I'm
that?
telling you that a $2 to $3 million company using this methodology done right, okay? You can't just say, okay, I got a podcast, here we go. I'm going to put out there. You need to have thought through your message. And it can't just be about you. We talked about this, right? It's got to be about how you inspire and serve your customer with your own special sauce and narrative and story thrown in. But the focus is that. Everybody thinks Apple is about the product. Apple's not about the product. Apple is about how people feel being associated with the product. Apple is about the greatest, most visionary people on earth are Apple users. When Steve Jobs came back from exile, he made this ad called Think Different. It was narrated by Richard Dreyfuss, right? And it went something like this. Here's to the
Hmm.
crazy ones, the misfits, the visionaries, the square pegs in the round holes. They're not fond of rules, and they don't take, I forget the exact word, with the status quo. You watch that ad, even today, you get goosebumps. You go, that's me. I'm those people. And those people would use an apple. That's what he's saying, right? And they're saying Apple is about
Hmm.
a celebration of the icons who think different, want to be different, and move forward. Great. So maybe your company is a construction company or you manufacture widgets. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But why do you do business beyond making money? Because if all you can talk about is how much money you make, screw you. Nobody cares. No one's interested. But if you're talking about you did this because there was a vision that came from your father being in business, and your father was the kind of man who would push people forward, and he would help people be better inside of the way that they did what they did. Now, if you can do that, we're golden, bro. We're golden. But if you can't do that, we're not. We're screwed. And that's important. That's what people got to understand.
And it has to be authentic too, right? It can't be
Absolutely. You can't be full of crap.
some actor.
No.
It's got to you got to be able to you got to be able to come from a place where you're telling your story and all of that energy and everything that comes from it, right? It's exactly what you did here. I'm helping people see that exactly what you did the first 7 minutes of the program is to actually illustrate what you help people do is to be able to describe who you are and why you're doing it and how you're going to help somebody, but you got the why in there. You got what's driving you to do it, and it's not, sure, we all want to get paid, that's important, but that's not your driver. Your driver is to be doing this thing to help people for all of these other reasons that are over here that help somebody develop their relationships, to help them, enhance their wealth, and you know, and by default, they're going to actually improve their health too.
Amen, sir. Amen. Amen.
I love it. I love it. Um, so, in terms of reaching out to you, um, and if your ideas resonated, because like you said about 5 or 6 things. There's one thing that you said that I wrote down, that some of these solopreneurs like don't have, they know their stuff, they know their space, but they don't have the confidence to go talk to people. But you're going to give them your confidence. I mean, I love that. Like, that's a gift to give to somebody who lacks that belief, right? That lacks that ability to make those connections. That's a really powerful, and it's part of your model, I think, by default, just because you're going to get those people excited. So those people, that solopreneur, that consultant, that corporate trainer out there that needs a little confidence boost, that needs some structure to get to the next place, how do they reach out to Nicky?
Look, if the message of like being at the center of a brand makes sense to you, be you a solopreneur, be you a CEO, then what you need to do is you need to go to my calendar and book an appointment. And the appointment is for what I call a success coaching call. And it's ecircleacademy.com/appointment. All I ask is that you fill out the kind of the application form we have there, because you got to apply for that call, right? I mean, I offer it for free, but
Hmm?
I'm not going to offer it just to any taker.
But you need some info to,
Validate
yeah, you
this
need info
person
to
is
be
a
able to get to
serious
people.
individual, right? And if that all checks out, which it usually does, we got a few people that it doesn't, but it should usually does, then yeah, we'll have the call and we'll move it forward. If it doesn't check out, someone from my team will reach out and cancel the call. But if it does check out, then yeah, absolutely, we'll do that. And let's have a conversation. Let's see where you're at. Let's see where you want to get to. Let's see why you're not getting to where you want to get to, and then I'll propose, if it's appropriate, I'll propose a way forward. And if it's not appropriate and I'm not the right person to be of service to you, I'll send you somewhere else. People always get shocked. They think that, oh my God, just because you're like effective at sales, that means you go after every single opportunity that comes across your desk. The reason I'm effective at sales is because I know when to say no, you know, and that's something people
But
just
that's
don't
such a
get.
hard concept. It's a hard concept to get salespeople to accept that as soon as you hear something that isn't that gives you indication that this isn't going to work, you got to dig into it and make sure. But once it's not going to work, when do you want to find out? Right? I mean, you got to save everybody's time because their time is just as valuable as ours, and
So
what can we do to help them regardless? I love it, and you're going to add value in that call to this individual, whether they move forward or not. You're still going to find a way to add value to them. So
100%. What
we'll
what
have
was
all
that?
that we'll have all that in the show notes. So let me ask you this question, sort of my only question I ask guests as a consistency. Does Nicky have a relationship, past or present, with cigars?
So listen, man, I am not into. I like the concept of a cigar, but I don't smoke.
Mm,
Never have, never will. I'm an athlete. It's not my thing. But when I see,
got
especially
it.
men, getting out there with some cigars, getting out there with a glass of a beverage, and having fine comradeship with other men, to me, that's a beautiful thing. And I've been around that with men, but I'm not a smoker, man. It ain't my thing.
Got it. But you see I had a guest the other day that said that for health reasons, right? He had specific reasons that it wasn't his thing. But he's like, it's sort of like people who enjoy wine and they get together and they can talk about wine and you don't have to know a lot about wine. You don't have to know a lot about cigars to really develop that relationship with other people. Is that I can walk into any city, go to a cigar shop, and sit down, and if you don't know somebody and what are you smoking, boom, you're in a conversation because you have something in common. The brothers of the leaf is what I
The
call it.
Brothers of
So
the Leaf. It's
I respect the
powerful,
fact
and
that
I'll tell you this, right? Uh, Masculine comradeship is what men need in this day and age. And one of the ways in which there is masculine comradeship is around smoking stogies, drinking drinking liquor, and having great conversations. And to me, that's awesome and amazing. I love seeing that.
yeah,
I
uh,
love being around the energy of masculine comradeship. Might stand back because I ain't into the smoke, but it's all good. We still enjoy the company of good men, and we enjoy powerful conversations, fun conversations, social conversations. It's a beautiful thing. The other day, I was on a podcast, and I was talking about some of the subjects you and I talked about. It was a bit of a longer form podcast, so we got into more detail, and I told a few more stories and all that. But the fellow was interviewing me, and I was talking about the importance of masculine comradeship and men being together. And he just said to me, he said, I just got something. I said, what's that? He said, you bring a father energy to conversations. And I am a
mm,
father, right? Two teenage sons. And he said that father energy is what you bring to the men because I run a men's organization, but it's also what you bring into the coaching work you do. And I thought about that for a second. I thought that was pretty brilliant because it's true. I do bring that father energy. I bring that tough love. I bring that desire for you to win and got your back. And I bring that push, and a father with his sons, he's a little tougher. He pushes them a little harder and challenges them, 'cause that's what
it's a little
sons
different.
need. But with his daughters, he loves them and encourages them more because that's what daughters need. Daughters thrive on encouragement. Sons thrive on challenge and being told, "Come on, you're being a bum, push." And that's an incredible insight on this man's part when he was interviewing me, and I really liked it. I'm gonna be using it in what I do in the next little bit.
Oh, I think it's totally appropriate, but I think there's one little more click to dial that in that um, our generation. I'm probably a little older than you, but what your father represented to you and how he parented, that that style of parenting is a little different than what I see out there today. So you're not only bringing that fatherly energy, that masculine kind of coaching thought. Like I've been accused of being a football coach approach to what I do with sales, and I took that as a compliment because my football coach, I run through a wall for him.
That's amazing.
Kill you in practice, and scream at you, but all you needed is that, like, hey, Crosby, pat on the ass on the way out, nice block on blah, blah, blah. He was paying attention, right? I would just, there was so much respect there. That's not always there. So that's more important to a certain couple of generations right now, that they get that someplace. So you can bring that. It's a natural thing. Add that to your brand, man. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think
That's really great insight.
you know, um, folks need to be fathered by real fathers, like tough masculine men. So listen, my son, I'll just leave you with this story. My son, my eldest son, is 17. Just before he turned 17, he and his friends got into a bit of trouble. I'm not going to get into some stuff, but there was a group of his friends that did some stuff, and all the parents were upset, and they were talking amongst each other, talking to me, and as well, and they said, "Well, my kid's going to be grounded for the next 6 months." And I'm like, "Yeah, that seems a little harsh, but I think my son should be grounded for a month, and I'm going to take his phone away." So I took my son's phone away and I grounded him, and I made him study harder and longer and stronger and all that. Um, I found out within 2 weeks they all caved. They all caved. And two of the parents were cops. Like, these men were police officers. So I expected them to be a little more, shall we say, stern than the average civilian.
Discipline.
But they all caved. Compared to the standards of my father's generation, I would consider myself a man of average toughness, But compared to men today and fathers today, I'm the goat, man. I'm the goat of this era. You know what I mean? Because I'm
Yeah, I
my
hear you.
son, he's annoyed with me because I've taken privileges away and I don't let him do shit and I'm tougher on him. But, you know, a while ago he said to me, I said, "Well, what do you?" Because I was asking him what he liked about his brother, what his brother liked about him, and then I asked him, "Well, what do you like about me?" And he said to me, "That you're tough on me." And I'm like, "Damn, boy, that made me proud. That made me proud that I'm tough on you." He gets it.
That pulls it
He
all
gets
together,
it.
right? He gets it. He understands why. He doesn't always like it,
No, sure don't.
but he respects it. And who we would, or as teenagers, we didn't love all
No.
of that. But to me, there's a great line that, you were a great parent as to the kid wants to spend time with you when they're an adult. If you can sit down and have a conversation with them when they're mid 20s, mid 30s, and they want to spend time with you, that's a win as a parent. Because as they're growing up, it's bumpy. They're going to do dumb stuff. It's our job to point it out.
Yep.
My daughter, she'll be 21 in a couple of months, and she doesn't stop amazing me with her ability to make good decisions, um, and think about things, and she forces me to think about things from a different perspective. We don't always agree. That's okay, but it's that the ability to listen, but she's making good decisions. I don't know where. I think I had a little bit to do with it. My wife had a lot. My mother had a lot to do with that, I think. But but we enjoy hanging out.
That's good.
Go down to visit her, and it's
That's
fun.
good.
So, Nikki, this was
That's
great.
awesome.
I love it. I love the fact that you're out there being authentic, and I think that father, that getting that message right of being that tough, because you got that look to you, right? You're not going to take any shit from anybody, but you got an open heart. You're gonna be you're going to be the guy that's going to walk alongside somebody and help them get to where they want to go on their journey. So I love it. And,
Thanks, bro.
keep
Thanks you.
after it. All right. Thank you.
Yeah,
Appreciate the time.
ditto.